Hi everyone, this is Mindy for Lawn Fawn, and in today's video I'm going to be creating this sunflower garden. The products I'm using is Sunny Sunflower, Giant Outline Banks, All the Clouds stamp set. I'm also going to use some mice from Bubbles of Joy and You Autumn Know. I'm going to start off by stamping out the images that I plan to use for my card project. So I have some Lawn Fawn 80-pound white cardstock here, and I'm inking and stamping my images in the Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, which is alcohol marker friendly. To color in my images, I'm going to be using my Copic markers today. So for the clouds that I stamped out 4 of them here, I am going to be starting off with BG11, and I'm really just tracing the inside of each of the clouds. Then I'm going to bring in BG10, and I'm going to go right over that color that I just laid down. I'm going to use an R12 to color in the ears and the nose for all of the mice. I didn't add any other shading since it is a fairly small area. And then for all of the mice, I'm going to be using the same 3 colors for this. Mainly, I will use E44, 43, and 42. If I have enough room, I will bring in an E41. And that E41 really only plays a part maybe with the head because I don't like to have too much of a dark area. I like to have it to be fairly light to really show the difference of a highlight area versus a shadow area. So for each of the mice, I just kind of look at what direction they're facing. My little guy that's kind of sitting down and he's looking up. So I decided with him to put my darkest color on the right-hand side and the lightest color on the left. This guy that's kind of in the middle, that one's a little trickier for me to figure out where to exactly put my highlight and shadow area because he is more center stage. The one that looks like he's going to be jumping onto something, I made the shadow area the left-hand side of him. Then I brought in a W1 to add a little bit of shading to the belly. I lined up the coordinating dies for each of them, held them down with Post-it tape, and ran them through my die cut machine. Off screen, I went ahead and did some die cutting. So I used the Sunny Sunflower. The centers I cut from Chocolate Bar. The flowers, I die cut 3 of them out of Sunflower cardstock, 3 out of Number 2 pencil, and then the stems I did from Algae cardstock. Now you could just layer everything together as is using those different shades of cardstock, but I really like to add shadows and highlights to my cardstock pieces with ink blending. So for the centers, I started out with walnut ink from Lawn Fawn to add some contrast or shadow area to the outside edge of the center of the flowers. And then I'm also bringing in Storm Cloud. Now I have these all placed on a grip mat on my stamp wheel just to kind of hold them in place while I do my ink blending. For the 2 different pieces of sunflowers, this is the piece that is die cut from Sunflower cardstock, and I'm using Number 2 pencil ink. I started in the center and then blending out towards the edge of the petals. The center of these pieces, you're really not going to see a lot of it. I'm really just using that as a starting point and then blending out. Now I have the pieces that are die cut from Number 2 pencil. And for the shading for these, I'm using Crunchy Leaf. I kind of wonder if I should have went with just a little bit darker shade of brown because it did take a little bit more elbow grease to get that shading on there. I think it still looked really good. It's not super drastic of a color once we start layering everything together. So the lighter shade of cardstock is going to go on the top, and I put some thin foam squares behind each of the center pieces, and then I'm just lining it up with the darker shade of cardstock I die cut, and I just kind of offset it so that all the petals are going to show this nice, big, beautiful bloom. For the center of my sunflowers, I am also going to add some thin foam squares to these. So it's going to give it just a little bit of lift, but not too much. And it's just going to help build that dimension for the front of the card. I'm going to wait before I add these to my stems. I want to work on my background first. So I will be using a piece of white cardstock that is cut to 4¼ by 5½. And I really wanted to have an autumn blend for this. So I'm starting off with sunflower ink kind of in the center. I'm going to leave that bottom portion a little bit kind of fading off into the white for right now. Then for the top half of my cardstock, I am bringing in pumpkin spice. Starting in at the top, I'm going to blend down into that sunflower and let those two colors kind of overlap and blend together. So this portion is going to be the sky for my background. I wiped up my work surface and then I'm bringing in freshly cut grass ink at the very bottom. I'm going to just very carefully and light-handed blend up towards the yellow, and that's going to kind of signify my grass. I'm using my giant outline things. I die cut that first layer or the outline layer from white cardstock, and the bottom piece is from black licorice. I took my lawn fawn glue and I just lined the back of that outline with the liquid glue and placing that over my black cardstock. Now there's also that inner portion of the A, so I made sure to save that and line that up so it is complete. I thought about die cutting, or I thought about layering it up twice, but decided I would just leave it as a one layer for that outline. Now I'm working on the assembly of the card. So I'm using the things as kind of a guide at the very top so I don't go too far up with my sunflowers. The center one is also kind of a guide because I want that popped up and more center stage than the other two. So that one was just kind of sitting there for now. The bottom two sunflowers are just tacked down with liquid glue. And then the center for the center the center for the center sunflower is popped up with regular thickness foam squares. I went ahead and added my clouds to my background to really give it that sky feeling. And then I have my little mice that I'll be popping onto my sunflowers. So they are just having a lot of fun in their sunflower garden. I did add some thin foam squares to them to kind of help pop them up and just give them a little separation from the die cuts. And previously, you saw me just trimming off the excess around the card, so the excess stems and the clouds that were hanging off. Now I'm going to attach the thanks. And for this, I'm just going to use my liquid glue, but I think it would also look really cute if it was popped up just a little bit more. And there is my little sunflower garden that my mice are having a ton of fun in, and a really great thank you card that I can save and give to some teachers. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching.